The hidden book of Genesis. What shocking truth did Israel's elders bury? Uncovered at 3 a.m. It was pitch dark in the old library, the kind of dark that creeps inside you and fills your heart with a panic you can't shake. The air was thick, almost alive, as whispers danced around the tall, dusty shelves. Everyone knew this place held secrets. That night, the clock's hands froze at 3 a.m., the witching hour, the precise moment when truths long buried tend to claw their way to the surface. With every tick of the second hand, curiosity twisted in the gut of the only brave soul, Alex, who had dared to delve deeper. Alex's hand shook as he reached for an ancient tome resting on the table. This wasn't just any book, it was rumored to contain revelations about the book of Genesis that the elders of Israel had concealed for centuries. The leather cover was cracked, like an old man's skin, and smelled of mold and mystery. As he opened it, a cold gust slammed against the window, rattling the panes violently, as if the spirits themselves were protesting. Inside, the pages flipped wildly, revealing cryptic symbols and illustrations that were foreign to his eyes, each line drawing him into a labyrinth of questions with no answers. What did this all mean? A chill raced down his spine as he caught a glimpse of an unnaturally vivid illustration, a figure shrouded in shadows, an angel with burning eyes that seemed to follow him wherever he moved. He could almost hear the whispers of the past, pleading him to put the book down, but his fingers wouldn't relent. At that moment, strange sensations pulsed through his body, his chest tightened, and a lump formed in his throat. What had the elders wanted to keep hidden so desperately? Outside the library, a murmur spread among the townsfolk. They'd seen lights flickering in the dead of night. "What's going on in there?" someone asked, wide-eyed. "Is it true? Are the secrets finally coming to light?" A few chuckled nervously, exchanged glances as if they could feel the walls of the library closing in. But Alex was lost in another world now, each word he read unraveling a bigger mystery. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a chilling passage that spoke of a chosen one and a prophecy that seemed to intertwine destiny with his own life. Just as he felt the gravity of it, a loud crash came from the back of the room, echoing like thunder, pulling him back to the present with a jolt. His heart raced. Was he alone? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Alex's heart was a drum in his chest now, echoing in the frightened silence that followed. Then silence. Nothing but the creaking of the building settling and the faint sound of his breathing. Slowly, he approached the source of the noise. What could it have been? Just the wind? Or something more? He reached the back room, where moonlight spilled through cracked glass, and there was a figure cloaked in shadows, just beyond the threshold. Was it the angel from the pages? Or were the elders watching him from the corners of time, their secrets about to spill from their lips? He felt a magnetic pull to step closer, but fear gripped him hard. What if he uncovered something that was never meant to be found? Something sacred? His gut twisted as he stood frozen. The only sound filling the room was his pounding heartbeat. With a deep breath, he took a step forward, ready to confront whatever haunted this ancient library. What awaited him beyond that door? The moment Alex crossed the threshold, the chill in the air escalated, wrapping around him like a vice. The figure remained shrouded in darkness, two piercing eyes glinting like molten metal as they locked onto his. His skin prickled, and he took a hesitant step back, the haunting realization that he was not alone clutching at his insides. "Who are you?" he managed to whisper, his voice barely breaking through the weight of silence. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it shifted slightly, and a low hum pulsated from its core, vibrating through the very walls of the room. The tornado of uncertainty warped Alex's sense of reality. Was this merely a projection of his fears, or something far more sinister? Lightning flashed outside, casting fleeting light on the figure, a robed silhouette, features obscured by shadows, hovering just above the floor. Alex's breath hitched. You have to be one of them," he stammered, recalling the passages about the elders. Had he disturbed some ancient guardian meant to protect their hidden knowledge? Suddenly, the book he had left behind erupted with life, pages flipping ferociously as if caught in a gust of wind. He could hear the muffled shouts of the townspeople outside, their anxious whispers barely penetrating the thick air that surrounded him. Was he doing what the elders had always feared? "You shouldn't have come here," he heard himself think, yet the pull toward the figure was irresistible. "What do you seek, son of man?" The voice sliced through the air. It was like gravel scraping against pristine glass, and for a moment, Alex felt an overwhelming sense of clarity washing over him. This being wasn't a monster, it was a messenger, a guardian of truths unspeakable. His heart thundered in his chest as he dared to ask, the truth about Genesis? The prophecy? A flicker of recognition danced in the figure's eyes. "The truth is a weapon, one that you must learn to wield," it intoned. "To understand the legacy of those who came before, you must embrace your own destiny. The revelation can lead to salvation or destruction." Alex felt the weight of those words as they wrapped around him. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet a deeper hunger thrummed within him, a thirst for answers, for understanding at any cost. If he stepped back now, would he always live in ignorance of what lay buried beneath the surface? Or would this knowledge grant him the power to change everything? Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A door creaked open behind him, and Alex sensed the rush of cold air sweep through the room. Shadows danced around the edges, and the figure began to dissipate. "Choose wisely, Alex. The prophecy awaits." The voice lingered, echoing ominously like a dark promise as the figure melted away into nothingness. Panic surged through him as he turned to the sound of footsteps now approaching. The townsfolk were trying to break in. He had to unlock the secrets he glimpsed in that book before it was too late. What if they crashed through just moments too early? He took a deep breath and turned back toward the ancient tome lying open on the table, its pages still quivering with life. His hands trembled as he reached for it again, desperate to understand, desperate for clues about the prophecy and what role he had to play. But the symbols on the pages began to shift beneath his fingers. He squinted, trying to comprehend the swirling lines when a sound echoed through the library, a loud bang. Did he go deeper into the mystery or prepare for the chaos beyond the library walls? As he glanced back at the door, adrenaline coursed through his veins. Would he be able to decipher the truth and escape in time, or were the elders preparing to reclaim their secrets in a way he could never have prepared for? The choice loomed large, shrouded in uncertainty and danger. The moment Alex's fingers grazed the page, a surge of light erupted from the book, illuminating the dim room. He shielded his eyes, feeling the power ripple through him, a heady mix of fear and exhilaration igniting every nerve. The symbols flickered and rearranged, twisting into vivid images, visions that danced before his eyes like a fever dream. Simon, he urged himself, heart pounding, mentally pleading with the book to reveal its secrets before the townsfolk broke through the door. The pages filled with scenes of lush landscapes and towering mountains, watched over by shadowy figures, elders who wore their wisdom like heavy cloaks. They whispered of an ancient prophecy, a promise veiled in riddles. "There!" he gasped, grabbing hold of a passage that seemed to glow brighter than the rest. His pulse raced as he read the words aloud, the air thickening around him. To awaken the guardian, the seeker must confront the echoes of the past. Only then will the path to truth reveal itself. But beware, for knowledge unearned can be a curse. His breath caught in his throat. A curse? The flickering images merged into one, a figure shrouded like the messenger that had confronted him moments before. It was him, standing at a crossroads, a choice looming. Suddenly, another loud thud resonated, louder this time, a heavy fist hammering against the door. The noise sent a jolt of terror cascading down his spine, breaking his focus. "Alex! Open up!" A voice shouted, frantic and desperate. "It's getting dangerous out here." Reality slammed into him. The townsfolk were panicking, and the ancient tome taunted him with half-revealed secrets. He was teetering on the brink of something monumental. If he chose to unlock the truth buried in those pages, what would he unleash upon the world? With trembling hands, he flipped through the book, scanning for anything that may indicate how to awaken this guardian. Each page turned felt like a countdown, the hammering at the door echoing the strain of his heartbeat. "Alex! We don't have time." The voice outside cried, panic tangling with urgency. He gritted his teeth, fighting against the impulse to flee. He could feel the weight of the town's expectations, the burden of their fear resting squarely on his shoulders. But he also felt compelled toward the unveiling truth. Did he have the resolve to face whatever may emerge from the shadows? Another page caught his eye, this one shimmering with a luminescent script. It read, "Trust in your blood, seeker. Only by embracing your lineage can you channel the guardians. But choose wisely, their truths do not come without a price." The air grew electric, whispers pulsed like a heartbeat, wrapping him in a cocoon of dread and destiny. He was connected to this ancient legacy, this power infused in his very being. "Alex! What is happening in there?" A wave of anger shot through him. Why were they incapable of seeing what he was trying to accomplish? That knowledge could change everything. It would empower them against whatever threatened their way of life. Yet fear lurked just beyond the threshold of fear of the unknown. The hammering was relentless, threatening to break through. All the while, the glyphs on the pages continued their frantic dance, whispering secrets meant for his ears alone. Could he really trust himself to harness this ancestral power? His thoughts churned with urgency. If he didn't act now, what awaited him on the other side of that door? Would the townspeople understand if he emerged with a truth too powerful to bear? As the final thud reverberated through the library, and he felt the ground shake beneath him, he made his choice, and in that fleeting moment, as he grasped the book tighter, the air thickening with tension, he knew his decision would seal his fate. "Time's up, Alex," came the eerie whisper from the pages, and in that instant, he realized he was no longer the seeker ready to unveil the truth, he was now the guardian of it. That he clenched his eyes shut, whispering a frantic prayer to whatever gods lingered in the shadows, bracing for what chaos would follow once he unlocked the prophecy. What had he just awoken from its slumber? The whispers grew louder, wrapping around him like a tightening noose. Alex opened his eyes, plunged into a whirlpool of sound and vision. The book throbbed with energy beneath his palms, each pulse sending shivers racing up his arms. He felt a deep connection to the words, as if they were part of him, part of a legacy stretching back through generations. The light intensified, refracting off the walls like 1,000 shattered prisms, casting eerie shadows that danced menacingly. He braced himself, pulling from somewhere deep inside a resolve he didn't know he had. "Trust in your blood," he murmured, the phrase reverberating against the walls, growing louder in his mind. He had to embrace who he was, accept the gift and the burden entwined within. With a firm breath, he focused on the words before him, sinking deeper into the text that he dared to read aloud again, letting the unfamiliar syllables tumble from his lips. "Awaken the guardian." At that moment, an earthquake of tremors crashed through the library as the ground shook violently, causing the shelves to rattle and books to tumble down like fallen soldiers. The door splintered under the force of desperate fists, as if the world outside was clamoring for an answer, wanting to be saved, wanting to escape whatever chaos awaited them. "Alex!" A blend of fear and urgency came through the door, soon followed by the sharp creak of wood threatening to give way. The air was thick with tension, and Alex could almost taste the desperation, feel it pulse in the air. "Please!" The voice pleaded, and for an instant, everything went silent. He felt the weight of their expectations once more. Should he turn back or push forward? The choice gnawed at him, but the book's light reached a fevered pitch. Against his better judgment, he pushed through the lingering fear, stepping closer to the book. "Echoes of the past," he whispered, echoing the mysterious phrase. Suddenly, shadows undulated across the floor, morphing into shapes, leaning figures that seemed alive, enshrining the echoes of ancient guardians. Their faces, shrouded, yet curiously familiar, mirrored his very thoughts, as if they gleamed with the knowledge of ages long past. "Face us, Seeker," they intoned in unison, voices like thunder rolling over hills. "Embrace your truth." Heart racing, Alex looked up. What was the truth about him, about the legacy tangled in his blood? Images swirled, revealing fragments of his ancestors, each one faced with choices as perilous as his, all bound in a tale of sacrifice, power, and consequence. The door exploded open. Light spilled into the dim library, followed by silhouettes of townsfolk, fear etched on their faces. They gasped as they beheld the glowing book and the shadowy figures that danced like specters at the periphery. "What the?" someone whispered. Alex's heart quickened. How much had they seen? How much did they understand? "Alex, please!" another cried out. "What is happening?" He could hear the rising panic in their voices, like a tide crashing upon a shore. The need to protect them collided with the fury of the power coursing through him. This was bigger than just him. The weight of the prophecy pressed down like an anchor, pulling him deeper. "Step away!" he shouted, a desperate growl. "You don't understand." But they didn't retreat. Instead, they stepped forward, drawn in, their curiosity overpowering their terror. Alex felt the guardian force build inside him, vibrating, ready to erupt. The ancient power wrapped around him like a suffocating cloak, demanding to be unleashed. "Alex, it's too dangerous." A voice broke through the frenzy, a desperate plea that echoed off the walls that he had to act. But the whole room buzzed with tension, the townsfolk caught between trust and fear, standing at the precipice with him. What would he unleash when he embraced his truth? The glowing symbols danced around him, and with every heartbeat, the choice felt heavier. Could he save them all, or would his awakening cast them all into chaos? As darkness loomed closer, tightening its grip, the final echo of the guardian reverberated. In his ears, "Choose wisely, for the cost demands a reckoning." The shadows around Alex writhed, driven by the unseen force within him. The townsfolk watched him, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and horror. They were witnesses to a reality none of them had ever imagined. His heart thundered in his chest. Was he ready to confront whatever lay hidden in the ancient text? 1,000 tiny voices screamed in his head, each fighting for dominance, but one rang loud and clear: he had to protect them. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice sharp and commanding. The guardians flickered like flames caught in a gust, their faces momentarily obscured. The town's people hesitated, clusters of fear and curiosity weaving through their ranks. "What are you doing?" a woman shouted. The fear in her voice scraped against the chaos around them. "I'm trying to unlock something," he trailed off, focusing on the book, the very heart of this turmoil. How could he share this burden? How could he explain that the fate of everyone rested on what he chose next? "Alex, breathe," a familiar voice broke through the crowd. It was Sarah, standing resolute, eyes locked on his. She had always been unyielding. "Whatever's going on, we can face it together." The grounding presence of her words washed over him, a faint light in the tempest. But uncertainty clawed at him, gnawing at the edges of his resolve. What if this truth was too dangerous? What if he unleashed something they couldn't control? He shifted his gaze back to the glowing symbols. The book pulsed more insistently, beckoning him like a siren drawn to the sea. It seemed to sense his hesitation and retaliated by shimmering brighter, its ethereal glow replaced by an intense golden hue that illuminated the entire room. Suddenly, the figures of the guardians merged into a vibrant image, an iridescent mosaic that splashed visions across the walls. Scenes unfolded, ancestors battling against overwhelming odds, sacrifices made in shadows, and a rising force tied to Alex's very existence. Each image resonated in his soul, igniting a profound sense of purpose. He was part of something vast, something ancient. But then, a chill swept through the air. The guardians' voices shifted from resonant harmony to fierce warning. The truth is a sword that cuts both ways. Each choice echoes through eternity. Decide before it decides for you. The energy surged. Alex's feet felt anchored to the ground. The townsfolk were frozen, caught in a fragile balance of emotion, watching him stake his claim against the torrent threatening to engulf them. "Alex, we trust you," Sarah urged, stepping closer, unwavering. "You can lead us. You have to." Her faith stoked the fire within him, driving out his doubt. He took a trembling breath, heart clenching. "I won't let you down," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. With a final glance at the townsfolk, he returned his focus to the radiant book. "I embrace my blood," he declared, voice firm, thrumming with newfound conviction. "Awaken the guardian within me." The air exploded with light, cascading around him like an untamed storm. The library shuddered violently, the walls vibrating, the essence of the past colliding with his spirit. Time seemed to stop. He was both invincible and vulnerable, knowledge and chaos entwined, but as the brilliant luminescence enveloped him, an agonized cry erupted from the shadows, reverberating in every corner of the room. An ominous voice, icy and deep, pierced through. "Foolish child. Do you think you can wield what you do not understand?" In that moment, Alex felt a rift open within himself. The choice he made echoed ominously, its power radiating outward. But what had he truly awakened? Fear coiled tightly in his gut, and the townsfolk recoiled as the echo of an unspeakable truth churned in the air. As the shadows deepened, a figure began to emerge from the void, cloaked in darkness, eyes glowing like embers. What had he unleashed, and would he be able to control it before it consumed them all? The cloaked figure stepped forward, a swirling mass of darkness that quieted even the faintest whispers of the crowd. Eyes ablaze, its face remained obscured, a wicked mirage too close yet too far away. Everyone instinctively took a step back, the air thickening with dread. "What have you done?" the figure hissed, voice dripping with malice. It echoed, winding its way around the room, wrapping around Alex like a python. "You've awoken me. You've called forth a darkness that was meant to be contained." Alex felt the heat from the book's glow wavering, its once vibrant energy faltering under the figure's monstrous presence. His heartbeat quickened, and panic clawed at his throat. How could he face this horror? The townsfolk were already pulling away from him. Doubt slithered through him, making his stomach twist. "Stand firm," he shouted, hoping to rally everyone's strength. "This is my burden to bear." But even as he uttered the words, doubt gnawed at him. He was just a boy wielding forces far beyond his understanding. The figure stepped closer, and a chill filled the air. "Do you think you can choose this path for others? You've summoned shadows that take pleasure in despair." The guardians flickered again, now desperate, their faces filled with agony. "You must control it. Don't let it consume you," they warned, their voices rising in unison, an urgent chorus against the malevolent force before them. Alex's breath came quick and shallow. The book vibrated against the front of his chest, resonating with an energy that both comforted and terrified him. He could feel it, an ancient power, just waiting for him to harness it. But at what cost? "Face it together. We can't lose now." Sarah's steady voice sliced through his spiraling thoughts. He turned to her, meeting her fierce gaze, and something flickered within him, a glimmer of hope against the overwhelming darkness. "Together," he repeated, more to himself than anyone else. Gathering his courage, he pushed against the suffocating fear. The radiant book flared back to life, illuminating the room in an explosion of gold and white. "If we're going to do this, then let us do it right." His words hung in the air like a promise. It sparked something among the townsfolk, and they began to rally behind him, a line of hope threading through their fear. "Whatever this madness is, we face it as one," a man cried, brandishing a piece of wood, his face grim but resolute. But the figure didn't budge. "You can choose to fight, but remember, every strike you make will echo through the ages. This is not just a battle, it is a reckoning." The shadows writhed around them, dark tendrils snake-like in motion, grasping at Alex, tugging at his essence. The pain shot through his chest, a burning reminder of the choice he had made. He felt weak, vulnerable against the tide of ancient malice. "Now, Alex!" Sarah screamed. Unlock the truth. Use what you have awakened. Alex thrashed against the shadows. He raised the book high, its light piercing through the darkness, cutting away the tendrils reaching for him. I will embrace this power. He bellowed. Let it guide me, not consume me. In that critical moment, a clash erupted. Light and darkness battled in the air, a chaotic dance surrounded by cries of the townsfolk. The ground shook beneath their feet. Alex felt the pull of both forces, an electric tension building, and he held on, refusing to let the shadows engulf him, but the figure laughed, a low, sinister chuckle that rattled through the room. This is just the beginning, boy. Chaos is only a choice away. With that, it lunged forward, and Alex braced for an impact that could change everything. When the blow came, he barely had time to form a shield in his mind. The light flickered, uncertainty surged, and then there was darkness. As the shadows closed in, he realized one indisputable truth: the battle had just begun, and he was no longer alone with his fears. But what else had he awoken in that ancient text? He couldn't shake the feeling that something far worse lay in wait, ready to emerge when he least expected it. The air was electric, charged with a primal energy that made the hairs on Alex's arms stand on end. He fought to banish the encroaching darkness, but it wrapped around him with a life of its own. The book pulsated against his chest, every heartbeat syncing with its glow, an ancient sentinel that knew secrets far too powerful for mere mortals. Then, silence. It swallowed Alex whole. Around him, nothing stirred. No cries, no footsteps, just the deep breath of anticipation held in a taut moment between light and shadow. Sarah's voice was but a faint whisper, echoing in the stark void. He searched for her, desperation gnawing at him. Finally, he blinked against the inky black, catching a glimpse of her silhouetted form on the edge of the fading light. Where are we? He rasped, his throat dry like sandpaper. What happened? I don't know, she replied, her words trembling, but I feel trapped. The weight of vulnerability pressed upon him. Had the figure really pulled them into its abyss? He squeezed his eyes shut, conjuring every ounce of willpower, every shard of hope. Panic surged, ready to throttle him. But within the chaos, a flicker of resolve ignited. He could not be just a victim. Stay close. He commanded, though uncertainty crept into his voice. We need to find a way out. As they tentatively navigated their surroundings, the shadows seemed to pulse and breathe, morphing into grotesque shapes that threatened to close in. Each step sent shockwaves of dread washing over him, the sensation of his heartbeat echoed in the silence, a steady reminder of life flickering amid the encroaching dark. Suddenly, from the depths of the gloom, a low rumble echoed, sending tremors through the ground. The cloaked figure emerged once more, its presence more palpable, more sinister than before. You think you've escaped, it hissed, a twisted smirk barely discernible in the dark folds of its cloak. You have only just begun to unravel. No. Alex shouted, his voice cracking. He tightened his grip on the book and felt its warmth surge back to life, responding to his urgency. I won't let you take us. With a surge of energy, he thrust the book forward, beams of brilliant light shooting directly at the figure. Shadows writhed, twisting around the light like serpents avoiding fire. The figure recoiled, but its laughter filled the space, a sickening sound like shattering glass. Foolish boy, the power you summon can be your doom. Alex felt the weight of those words bear down on him. Was he capable of controlling what he'd awakened? The fear crawled back slithering through his mind, falling like poison in his gut. A part of him doubted whether he could hold back the tide of darkness. Alex! Sarah screamed, pulling him back from the edge of despair. Her eyes sparkled with defiant compassion, igniting a courage he thought lost. You have the strength. Remember what we've fought for. Don't let fear take over. As if granted clarity, Alex focused again on the book. Memories of their journey flooded his mind, every victory, every loss interwoven like a tapestry. They defaced impossible odds before. With renewed resolve, he shouted, Together, we are stronger. Light exploded from the book, blinding and pure. The shadows recoiled, and with that, the figure yelled in rage, swiping a hand. Dark tendrils lashed out, striking at Alex. Panic returned, raw and icy, but something shifted within him. The book pulsed again, and Alex slammed his hands together. A barrier of light erupted to meet the shadows, and for an instant, everything stopped. The figure sneered, its eyes ablaze with rage. "This is merely a taste of what lies ahead, boy." But just then, a piercing shriek cut through the air. Fading whispers swirled, encircled him and Sarah, forming an unsettling echo of voices long forgotten. And from amidst the chaos, a chilling, steady realization washed over him: they had only scratched the surface. Something lay deeper still, hidden within the pages of that book, a dark truth intertwined with their fate, a truth that, just perhaps, could either save them or doom them. All. Sarah. Alex breathed, fear creeping back in. What have we really unlocked? The air quivered with anticipation as Alex and Sarah stood together, bravely confronting the encroaching shadows. Whispers rose and fell like a chilling breeze, each voice taunting and filled with despair. Every shadow stretched, contorting menacingly, as if relishing the fear that hung between them. "Remember, together," Sarah urged, clutching Alex's arm tightly. The warmth of her touch helped tether him to reality, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the rising tide of terror. "Right," he replied, forcing himself to breathe as fear clawed at his throat. "We just have to figure out what this means. Can you feel the book's energy?" He continued, feeling the heat surge through the leather cover against his chest. It pulsed beneath his fingers like a living entity. "Maybe it holds the answers." Suddenly, the shadows pooled before them, and the cloaked figure laughed a sound that sounded like bones cracking. "You think your little flickering lights can save you?" it taunted. "You stand on the threshold of truths that are far beyond your understanding. Power must be earned, not merely wielded." The air seemed to pull back with the force of its words, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. For a split second, panic surged within Alex. But then, amidst the chaos, that ever-present spark ignited. He took a brave step forward, eyes locked on the figure. "What are you?" he demanded, projecting more strength than he felt. "Why do you want this book?" The figure's sneer deepened. "I am the guardian of secrets, a keeper of shadows. And you, boy, are a key to a door best left closed." It swiped a hand, and tendrils of darkness lashed out toward them. Panic surged as Alex felt the tendrils brush against his skin, cold like ice, suffocating his breath. "Sarah, now!" he shouted, instinctively pulling her closer as they moved sideways. Their combined light shifted, holding the darkness at bay. He could see their path ahead, the line of light piercing through the void. But what lay ahead? It was unclear, a mere glimmer of salvation surrounded by endless dark. "Think, Alex." Sarah's voice was a lifeline. "The book. Its pages might not only hold darkness. We've seen it shine before." Suddenly, an idea ignited in Alex's mind. What if we don't just fight it? He felt a spark of inspiration, like a sudden flash of clarity in the tempest surrounding them. What if we find the truth within it? The words resonated, lighting a fire behind his eyes. He flipped the book open, its pages fluttering as if breathing in the chaos, revealing cryptic symbols and ancient scriptures. Bright symbols began to glow, a radiant light mingled with the darkness, a call to arms. The whispers intensified, altering their pitch from mournful echoes to urgent encouragement, as though the trapped souls were rallying around them. "Look!" Sarah pointed at a page, her voice quivering with electricity. "These words, they're a spell, a binding." Tendrils of shadow paused, flickering as if caught in the tide. And with that momentum, Alex shouted the words aloud. Each syllable twisted and tightened the air like a noose, binding the darkness with the power of truth. The shadows recoiled, howling in protest, as wisps of light tore through them, unraveling the curse like a strand of thread. "It's working." Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide, filled with disbelief. But what happens next? The cloaked figure erupted in rage, its silhouette faltering as shadows lashed around it like frayed ropes. You cannot control what you do not comprehend. It screeched, sweat beaded on Alex's forehead as he focused hard. Hold on. He grimaced, time stretching as he battled to maintain control over the spiraling energy thrumming in the air. Then, amidst the chaos, another chilling realization hit him: the truth they were unearthing came with a price. If they weren't careful, the power could consume them. Suddenly, a wall of darkness surged, slamming into Alex with bone-rattling intensity. He staggered back, grappling for balance, but in that moment of chaos, the book slipped from his grasp. No! He cried as it spiraled away, caught in an eddy of shadows. Alex! Sarah screamed. We have to get it back. His heart hammered as he lunged toward the book, but the endless tide of shadow surged closer, screaming for him to surrender. I see you've made your choice. The cloaked figure hissed, injecting despair into every word. The truth will consume you both. With a frantic shove, Alex reached for the book, just as the shadows coiled like serpents around him and Sarah. But the real question loomed: what truth awaited that could either save or destroy them? Would they emerge victorious, or would this be the end of their desperate fight against the darkness? The shadows thickened, swallowing everything as Sarah's voice echoed through the widening divide, and Alex's breath quickened, lost within the heavy cloak of uncertainty. Alex, what have we unleashed? The darkness roared, a living thing, roaring with fury and desperation. Alex could almost feel the shadows tightening around him like a trap, their whispers now a cacophony of rage. He lunged forward, desperately reaching for the book, its form flickering at the edge of his vision. Sarah, stay close. His voice barely pierced the oppressive atmosphere. The shadows hissed, burning his eardrums with their malevolence. Each word they spoke felt like it was laced with poison. Do you even know what this is? The cloaked figure continued, its voice slithering through the air. What you're tampering with? You think you can simply unravel the truth? You tread on sacred ground. A cold chill ran down Alex's spine as a realization crashed over him like a wave. There were fates worse than death, paths that led only to madness. What if they weren't just fighting for their lives? What if they were about to unleash horrors they couldn't begin to comprehend? Now! Sarah shouted, her voice urgent and trembling with fear. Grab it. Quickly. He threw himself forward, his fingers brushing against the leather cover before the shadows surged back, pulling him down. It felt like being dragged through ice, the very essence of darkness wrapping around him, pulling tighter and tighter. He gasped, gasping for air as dread pummeled at his chest, but he fought back, kicking and straining against the weight of despair. Sarah, help. His voice cracked with the effort. He needed her strength, her light that in a flash. He was back on his feet, body fueled by adrenaline. Alex turned to Sarah, who was holding another spell word from the book, her eyes igniting with fierce determination. Focus, Alex. We can't let it win. With Sarah's voice echoing in his heart, he felt the power surge between them, the warmth pushing back against the cold tendrils of darkness. The glowing symbols on the pages crackled, flickering as Alex grabbed the book again, feeling its energy wrapping around him like a shield. Together. He shouted, feeling the book pulse more intensely. The shadows shrieked, their breath hot and rancid as wisps of light erupted from the book, the flood of energy spilling over them in waves. The cloaked figure shrank back, furious and trembling, the shadowy fabric of its being ripping at the seams. Fools! It screamed. You are merely a temporary obstacle. The truth you hold will eat at your insides, gnawing away at all you know. Let us see about that, Sarah retorted, her hands steady as she read aloud the binding spell. The words flowed like water, powerful and pure, slicing through the gathering despair. With every spell Alex chanted, every syllable spat into the air, the shadows shrieked in fury, a chorus of tormented spirits wrapped in the darkness. He could see the edges of the black mass rippling and breaking, light bathing their immediate circle as the shadows contorted, struggling against the binding force they had unleashed. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the air crackled violently. "This isn't just some game." The figure howled, its voice echoing with 1,000 voices, each one filled with anguish. "You don't understand what you're binding. You think you know power." With fierce determination, Alex summoned every ounce of belief he had. "But we will learn. We will understand." Suddenly, the shadows began to unravel, tendrils falling apart like frayed threads. They twisted and screamed, dark smoke swirling away to reveal something beneath. Something ancient, menacing, thrumming with unspoken truths. Tension rippled through the air, fear danced in Alex's gut as he squinted forward. What lay before them was not merely darkness but the contested reckoning of generations. A glimpse of secrets that defied human comprehension. "Alex, look!" Sarah gasped, her voice now a whisper. "What is that?" The unsettling truth was unfolding, and the crowded silence was thick with foreboding. Shadows thrummed in a final upheaval, a disorienting rush flooding over them, drowning their senses. He realized with a start that they had awakened something beyond their control, and it was staring back at them. In that moment, he felt the urgent weight of destiny pressing down on his shoulders. Would they break free, hold tight to their humanity, or would they fall into the abyss lost and hopeless, forever entwined with the truth they dared to uncover? As the air quivered with unanswered questions, the cloaked figure's ghastly laugh reverberated, sending shivers racing up Alex's spine. "Enjoy your truth, it will be your undoing." What ancient horror awaited them next? What truth would demand a price far steeper than they could afford? The shadows twisted like living creatures, writhing in response to the truth they had just glimpsed. Alex felt the cold tendrils creeping closer, threatening to snatch away their courage. The once radiant glow from the book dimmed, flickering on the edge of oblivion. He had awakened something so deep and primal, its very essence clawed at the edges of his sanity. "Stay with me, Sarah," he shouted, teeth gritted as he anchored himself to the moment. The force of darkness pulled at their shadows, threatening to disconnect their hope. "We have to face this, whatever it is." As he clutched the tome tightly against his chest, he felt its energy pulse, a reassuring thrum that anchored him. The echoes of ancient guardians merged with the sound of the chaos swirling around them, creating a haunting symphony of voices, some filled with fear, others with promise. The truth they'd uncovered was becoming a cacophony inside his mind, begging for release. Sarah's eyes shone with resolve, casting away doubt like a worn coat. "We can't let it take control. Remember the guardians. Their power can guide us." She looked firmly at Alex, determination etched across her features. "We have to focus. We're not just acting for ourselves anymore. Think of the town, of everyone facing this darkness." He met her gaze and felt a flicker of hope ignite. "You're right." With a deep breath, he concentrated on the book, its pages shimmering with an urgent energy. "We can not only fight, we must understand. Let us bind this darkness together." The book responded, glowing brightly as if recognizing the shift in their heartbeats. With each spell they voiced together, the shadows shrieked in agony, the power of their courage tearing at the veil that separated them from the chaos seeking to consume their light. Together, they shouted in unison, words rippling through the air like a wildfire, setting the book's wisdom alight with deeper truths. But just as they forged ahead, the cloaked figure snapped back into focus, rage spilling like poison, swirling dangerously in the air. "You think you can hope against what you've summoned? You have not just awakened shadows, you have torn the veil between worlds. The truth is a curse." It spat, and the shadows danced frenziedly, writhing like snakes. "Curse or not, we face it," Alex shouted, bolstered by Sarah's unwavering gaze. "We won. Stand down." The radiant energy surged forth like a tidal wave, concealing the dark figure momentarily. But something inside Alex whispered doubts, clawing at him relentlessly. Could they actually control what was uncoiling before them? Doubt threatened to envelop them as shadows encroached around. Suddenly, the book burst forth with a brilliant light, illuminating the darkness, while the shadows howled in shrill despair. In the chaos, Alex heard not only the cries of fear and anguish but also the echoes of ancient truths that begged to be uncovered. A rift was forming, and from its maw, a swirling mist beckoned, promising both power and peril. "Bring forth your truth." The figure snarled, its voice a haunting melody spiraling through the air. "Face what you have unleashed." "Alex." Sarah's shout broke through his uncertainty. "We have to seal it." "Right." As he focused, memories cascaded through his mind of every ancestor who had dared to stand against such darkness. They had choices to make, and so did he. Together. He yelled, determination fueling him anew. They recited a final binding spell, words blending with the rush of their collective breath. The shadows faltered, flickering and collapsing into themselves as the golden light enveloped the room. For a moment, everything hung suspended, time itself paused, caught in a state of awe, then, all at once, a rippling wave of light erupted, pushing against the dark figure. It contorted, its mask of confidence shattering as the shadows splintered and cracked like glass, each shard illuminating the deeper mysteries they dared to confront. "You will pay dearly." The figure roared, its voice resonating with a bone-chilling finality as the brightness intensified, enveloping everything in sight. With one final cry of resolve from both of them, light exploded in all directions, and the cloaked figure disintegrated into shadows, evaporating into the air, leaving behind a silence so profound, it spoke of freedom. Alex and Sarah stood there, breathless, hearts racing as the remnants of darkness faded away. The library sparkled like a new dawn, filled with the dust of ancient secrets finally brought to light. They could feel the air shift, the weight of dread lifting from their shoulders. It was as if the world had exhaled, unburdening the darkness that had lingered for far too long. "We did it," Sarah breathed. "Yeah," Alex replied, trembling with the weight of what they had accomplished. "But at what cost?" The book lay still, its pages whispering promises of truths bound within, waiting to be explored. Alex realized that knowledge was not merely a privilege, it dictated responsibility. "We'll have to keep this safe," he said, understanding now that the real journey was just beginning. The truth may be a double-edged sword, yet they tread forward together. Behind them, the townsfolk flooded in, faces illuminated with cautious hope, confusion, and gratitude. The old fears were still palpable, yet for the first time, there sparkled a possibility of clarity. What once had been hidden was now theirs to confront. Alex could see it in their eyes. They were ready to embrace the changes, to walk the delicate line between light and dark. As they looked around, a new sense of purpose washed over him. They had faced the shadows together, and the power of truth had been awakened. It was a legacy neither could ignore or escape. "Let us gather everyone," he said firmly, "and begin this next chapter." As they stepped forward together, hand in hand, the weight of spirit-crushed hearts and renewed hope hovered softly in the air. They were ready to reclaim their narrative, one truth at a time, knowing they would face whatever lay ahead together, but before thoughts of their new beginning could pull them away, the book shimmered, its pages fluttering open, revealing secrets still waiting to be discovered, each unfolding with the promise of more wisdom as it whispered, "The journey continues. You need to subscribe now. Smash that like button now to show your support. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what this all means. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for these exclusive stories.